Hi, I'm Susan Papanicholas from How Does Your Garden Grow in Seattle, Washington. It's the end of March here in Seattle, and I'm in my own garden with my dog Albert with this really beautiful flowering Brunnera Macrophylla, or Siberian Bugloss. Brunnera is a go-to plant for me in the shade because it combines beautiful flowers with really interesting foliage, all in a plant that isn't fussy at all and requires very little special care in the garden. It's blooming right now in the beginning of March with these really lovely blue flowers. They look a little bit like forget-me-nots, but it's a perennial plant that packs a lot more punch than little dainty annual forget-me-nots. It has these really beautiful variegated leaves, and there are different varieties of Brunnera that you can find at the nursery. All the varieties I've seen have the same kind of flowers on them, and the differences come on what the leaves look like. So this one right here in my garden is Jack Frost, and you can see it's got sort of a silvery coating on the leaf with darker green veining. Another popular variety that I really like is this one, which I have in a nursery pot. This one's called Hadspen's Cream, and it has a greener leaf with a more creamy white margin. It ends up working well in a warmer garden. This one has a real cool effect to it, and this one is a little bit warmer. The flowers come on in early spring and they'll last for several weeks. And as the flower stems start to decline, what you're going to want to do is come in and cut the entire flower stem back at the base. So this flower stem emerges down here at the ground and comes out. It has a little bit of a different shaped leaf on it. These leaves are smaller and narrower. So you're going to cut all of those flower stems off at the end of the flowering time. And then you'll be left with these big, beautiful, bold leaves that will add really great color and interest to your garden throughout the summer and actually well into the winter. In most places, this plant is pretty evergreen. It'll lose a few of its leaves, or if we get a bad frost, it'll lose all its leaves altogether. And then that's fine. You'll just take off the leaves that look crummy or cut it to the ground. And then in the spring, it'll reemerge with these beautiful flowers on it. This plant is pretty versatile. It'll grow in shade to part shade. In this spot right here, it's a little exposed. It gets a lot of afternoon sun, so sometimes later in the summer, the leaves will get burned spots on them because it's a little bit more sun than it likes. So I just pull off those leaves that get the burned spots on them, and it tends to look good anyway. The benefit of having it here where it gets a little more sun is that right now at the end of March, it's up and glorious in full bloom. I have it in a few other spots in my garden where it's a lot shadier, and those plants are just starting to emerge. This one is in deep shade, and as you can see, it's just barely emerging out of the ground right now. Here it is in dappled shade, and you can see it's a little bit bigger than the one in deep shade, but a lot smaller than the one that's in more sun. Brunneras are a great substitute for hostas in places where there isn't quite as much moisture as a hosta would need, or where you have a lot of slugs. These big, beautiful leaves can serve the same purpose in the garden that a hosta can serve without all the fussiness that a hosta brings with it. So I really love to use these plants in my clients' gardens. They add a lot of interest to the garden year-round, and I love the cottage look of the beautiful flowers without the fussiness of a cottage garden plant. I'm Susan Papanicholas from How Does Your Garden Grow, helping you make the most of your garden.